Welcome to MyShlaich Story Hour Chassidim series. Kinderlach, we left off in the previous episode. It's freezing cold in Liozne. It's Shmini Atzeres. Snow is falling. The winds are blowing. And all you hear from the windows of everyone's house in Liozne is coughing and sneezing. And there's probably not enough tissues to go around. They didn't have tissues in those days. They had a nostichel. You know what a nostichel is? It was a handkerchief. Anyhow, people are very sick because of the cold. They got fevers. They got the flu. They got corona. But it was not a good situation. And on the Shiner Rabbe, the Pinchos Raizes is by the Alter Rebbe, and the Alter Rebbe says that anybody that's sick should come to Akafis, and they're going to be better. We spoke about in the previous episode the two individuals that were Misnagetim that live in Liozne. Reb Isaac Mechadish, Reb Naftali Zohir. Reb Isaac had a nephew, Reb Mesha Apotzker, who was a Chosid of the Alter Rebbe, who was staying in his uncle the Misnagit's house together with his two sons and sons-in-law, who also were sick. The doctor Avraham came to check them out, and the doctor said the younger people are going to feel better. But as for Reb Mesha, who was already older person and very, very weak, he doesn't see him surviving this Simchas Torah. And their uncle, Reb Isaac Mechadish, the Misnagid, is saying that this is crazy, that you put yourself in danger to come to the Alter Rebbe. We are now holding Ma'ariv Shmini Atzeres. It's Friday night. Now, Kinlach, you know what happens Ma'ariv to Shmini Atzeres? After Ma'ariv, you make Kiddush, you have a little Kiddush, and you sell the Atareisas, you say Atareisa, and our Akafis begins. Our friend, the Chosid that we're discussing, the Pinchos Raizes, together with Reb Ephraim Michal and another Chosid, Reb Chaim Eliev Dubrovne, took along a few young men, and they set out throughout the city of Liozne, the town of Liozne, to all the places where the guests were staying, the little hotels, and the people that had family that were staying with family, and they decided it was going to be their mission to collect everybody, all the out-of-town guests, and bring them to the Alter Rebbe Shul for Akafis, so that all of them should be warmed and healed by the fire of the Torah, as the Alter Rebbe told the Pinchos Raizes earlier that day. When they arrived in one inn, in one krechma, in another hotel, and they told the Chassidim what the Alter Rebbe said, you know what happened? Just hearing the words that the Alter Rebbe said, that if they come to shul, they're going to feel better, that itself began to make people feel better. And some of the people already knew what the Alter Rebbe said. Because as soon as the Pinchos Raizes left the Alter Rebbe's room, he right away went into the shul in the chutz of the Alter Rebbe's house and made the announcement that the Alter Rebbe said whoever was sick should come to Akafis. And within an hour, the word spread and reached all the krechmes and the inns and the people in the town. But as soon as the Pinchos Raizes arrived in every hotel and in every house and in every krechme, the people asked him, please repeat us what the Rebbe said. Tell us again, word by word, letter by letter. And it was a clear delight to see that the Rebbe's words were being accepted with such a geschmack, and it was making them feel better. Everybody, men, women, and children, everybody was certain that the Alter Rebbe, with the Rebbe's help, would have a nace, and everybody would feel better. Kinderlach. It was no easy task traveling around Liozne that night. It was very slippery. There was a lot of sleet on the ground, when the snow becomes mushy. And there was pouring rain, and the winds were howling. It was so cold, it went right through your bones. A frost it does give in. It's terrible. And it was very difficult to go through the streets because it was slippery. But still, even of these terrible conditions, this didn't stop the sick people from going to shul. Many of the people were able to walk on their own, and some of them needed help to be carried on both sides. And those people which weren't able to walk on their own had to be carried to the Alter Rebbe's shul. And now, after going around the town, the Pinchos Raizes, together with a few Chassidim, arrive in the house of the Misnagid, Reb Isaac Mechadish, because they went to pick up his nephew, Reb Mesha Apotzker, who we said was not feeling very well. When they came there, they found Reb Isaac arguing with his great nephews, the two sons and the son-in-law of Reb Mesha. The three men were arguing because they got the message from the Alter Rebbe that anybody that comes to Hakafis is going to feel better. And they wanted to carry the Meisha to Hakafis. And Reb Isaac was saying, are you crazy? It's unthinkable. I will not let you go outside. First of all, even the younger people, I don't think we should go. But especially your father, Reb Meisha. Look at him. There's nothing even to discuss. This is crazy. This is nonsense. Your entire day, he's been laying in the bed. He doesn't know what's going on with him. Weiß nicht, was tut sich mit sich. In fact, Reb Avram the doctor said that his mamish akonis nefoshes. His life is in danger. It's danger. You hear what I'm telling you? And if you were to carry him outside in this frost, the first gust of wind will take his neshama and blowing it right out of the Eretz HaChaim, from the place where people are in the living, and carry it all the way up to the Rebbein Shalom Gan Eden. It's mamish retziche. What do you think you're thinking? To take such a cold, sick, dying man outside in the frost? Just because the Alter Rebbe said so? I understand the Alter Rebbe is a big Talmud Chochem. But this doesn't give you permission to be taking this person outside in the house. Es passt nicht, ich verstehe doch nicht. Was geht da vor? That was the discussion that was going on. When Reb Chaim Elya Dubrovner and Reb Pinchos Raizes and a few other young Chassidim entered the house, Reb Meisha's sons were so happy, and they said, Baruch Hashem, now we're saved. You saved us, and you saved our father Reb Meisha. Rotschim, murderers, killers is what you are. Reb Isaac began to scream. What you're doing is in Avere. It's against the Heilige Torah. You're going to kill this man by carrying him out in the cold. Pinchos Raizes went over to the Meisha, who was laying in the bed, mamish like a shtickholz, like a log. The guy had no expression, no life, no color in his face. His mamish kamat agaisis. The skin was dark and bluish. His eyes were closed, and he was mamish running a very, very high fever. As the Pinchos Raizes is standing right beside the bed of Ramesha, Reb Isaac Mechadish, the Mesnagid, the uncle of Ramesha, says, What do you have to say? This man is dangerously ill, and you want to take him to shul for Hakavis? Even if this was the Beis Hamikdash, even if the Beis Hamikdash was standing, and even when the great Goinim and Talmidei Chachamim were in Yerushalayim, the Gemara tells us Masechtas Chagige, right in the first Mishnah, that the people that don't have to be going to Eile Regel is someone that is a sick person, a Chele. Look at this person. He's definitely a very sick person, and he doesn't have to go to the mitzvah of Eile Regolim. He doesn't have to be Eile Regel. Our Chachamim tell us. And if you carry Reb Meisha outside right now, you will be guilty of retziche, of murder. Hell's was gesagt dir. Do you hear what I'm telling you? As Reb Isaac is yelling at Reb Pinchos Raizes, the two sons of Reb Meisha, Reb Chaim and Reb Baruch, spoke up. Since the Rebbe said that this is going to be the refuah, we believe with perfect emunah that if our father, I'm sorry, I have a little bit of a cold. If our father will be brought off to the minyan for the Rebbe's Hakafis, we are certain, we have complete emunah and bitachin in the Rebbe's bracha that this will be the refuah, and even we will feel better. When Reb Pinchos Raizes told over the story to the great uncle of the Frierdiker Rebbe, Reb Nachum, Reb Pinchos Raizes says, that moment, I gotta be made I didn't know what to say. On the one hand, Reb Isaac's arguments made sense. I mean, if you looked at Reb Meisha Rapotzker, the guy was holding on to life by a thread. I mean, there was no way he was going to survive if you take them outside. And he understands, what his tightness is. On the other hand, he hears the complete, pure emunah and bitachin that the two sons of Reb Meisha have in the Haftach of the Alter Rebbe. This pure emunah of a tzaddik, it radiated to the point of Mesiras Nefesh that they were going to take out their father in the freezing cold, even though it made no sense, al pi teva, to do, because the Alter Rebbe said that this will be the refuah. Seichel anushi, mortal seichel, reason, says that you have to listen to Reb Isaac. Right? Reb Isaac mechadish to misnagid, because it makes no sense to take a sick person outside in the cold. A patient that is in such a state obviously shouldn't even be moved out of his bed, because the slightest wind could put him in sakanas nefashis. And you take him outside in such a storm, there's no way he's going to make it to shul alive. And that made sense, al pi seichel. But on the other hand, a yid doesn't always operate with seichel anushi. You have to realize, what does the Rebishter want? A yid has to have emunah and bitachon in a tzaddik. And the MyShlaich of Reb Chaim and Reb Baruch were arguing that you have to listen to the Alter Rebbe. And Reb Pinchos Raizes says, I understand where they're coming from also. If the Rebbe said that the fire of Torah is going to be the cure, then that is the cure. And that's it. There's nothing to talk about. And Reb Pinchos Raizes says, I was so impressed by the emunah and the pure bitachon that these two simple people, they weren't big Talmidei Chachamim, they weren't necessarily big Chassidim or Ga'inim or anything. You know, they didn't come to the Alter Rebbe and become the Alter Rebbe's Chassidim because they understood the tifkeit of Chassidus, like Reb Pinchos Raizes did. And nevertheless, they had such pure emunah and bitachon in the brach of the Alter Rebbe. Moment by moment, Reb Pinchos Raizes says, he was more amazed by the Mesha's sons. Reb Pinchos Raizes said, here I am, Reb Pinchos, the son of Arav Chanei Chenech of Shkolov, who had the schus to learn Gemara and Poskim by the greatest Talmidei Chachamim. And he came to appreciate the Alter Rebbe, Pashut because he appreciated the goodness of the Alter Rebbe. And these simple young men who came here to the Rebbe only out of Yirah Shamayim in a sense of duty, of responsibility, of achrayus, they don't understand the tifkeit of the Alter Rebbe's teachings. But from them shines the Nefesh Alekis, the pure, simple emunah. Pinchos Raizes said, I said to myself, Pinye Reb Henichs, Shemzich, be ashamed of yourself, be humbled in the presence of such a Chassidishe simple yid, a village tailor, and in the presence of a Chassidishe seicher, a simple merchant. Pinchos Raizes was so deep in his thought, and so deep in his reverence, in his awe, in his espilus of these two people, he didn't realize what was going on. Until Reb Chaim Elya the Brovner gave him a shackle and says, no! Avram the doctor says that the poor old man is on his last few hours, Rahman al-Islam. You got to take him. At that moment, Reb Pinchos Raizes hears Reb Baruch calling out to his father, Tate! Father! The Rebbe sent us shluchim, he sent us messengers to invite you to come to Akofis. Father, wake up! We have to go to the Rebbe's Akofis! There was an uproar in his room, and when Pinchos Raizes walked into the Mesha's room, he saw the Mesha laying there. His eyes were now open, and a small smile was on his face, waiting to be taken along to the Rebbe's Beis Medrash. Reb Chaim Elya ran out of the house, called in a few extra Chassidim, the young Chassidim, and they dressed their Mesha in very warm clothes because he was unable to dress by himself. He couldn't even move one limb. He was very, very weak. They lifted him off and carried him to the Alter Rebbe's minyan for Akofis. And as they leave, Reb Isaac is waving his head and hand out the door. Chotzchim, murderers! You people are going to be responsible for this. The Eberster wird doch nicht meichel sein. The Eberster is not going to forgive you for this chetziche that you're doing. Kinderlach. As they walked into the big shul in the Chotzir, the heat struck them in the face. The place was packed and the fire stove was burning. The minyan was packed from wall to wall. Some of them were sick. And they could not even sit on the benches. And they had to be like leaned up against the wall, so they shouldn't be laying down. But at least they were quiet. Other people were coughing without respite. They were coughing and kvetching. Oh, the schmerzen, it tut mir weh. You know, it was pushed to Rachmanis to see what was going on. The most serious case was Reb Yaakov Yeshayahu. He was a Yid in his 60s, a big Machnas Eidech and a big Baal Stok and a big Talmud Chacham and a Baal Aveda, actually. He worked as a Malamed from time to time, and he had a little kretschme. In the course of the years, he would travel on foot from time to time to the Mizmitcher Magid, and then he would go to the Mendel HaRedaker. When the Mendel HaRedaker moved to Eretz Yisrael, he started coming to the Alter Rebbe and became one of the Alter Rebbe's biggest Chassidim. This Chosid, Reb Achiezer. Now, Yaakov Yeshayahu was a big, tall, strong person. And his friends used to call him Yaakov Yeshayahu Kohen Gadol. Right? Kohen Gadol means, the Kohen Gadol, but it also means Kohen Gadol, a big Kohen, because he was very big and strong. According to the doctor of Avram, because he was so strong, because his very strength, that's what made him very sick. And the doctor of Avram said it's just a matter of time before the Malach HaMavis, Rachman al-Islam, gets a hold of him, and Reb Yaakov Yeshayahu was going to pass away. But even with this, he still made his way to the Alter Rebbe shul. He slept there and was now laying in the shul, ready for Hakafis, barely conscious. What's going to happen with all these sick people? Hundreds of Chassidim from all over Russia and Ukraine and Poland that traveled to spend Chassidishe by the Alter Rebbe, terribly sick, are crammed into the shul. What is the Alter Rebbe going to say? What is the Alter Rebbe going to do to bring about a refuah? Keep listening. We'll find out.